This is Big Man Tyrone, and you're about to watch the MTG Cabal cast with your hosts, Woad, Thursty, and Reptar. Sub to us on all your podcast networks at MTG Cabal Cast and YouTube.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the newest episode of the Cabal cast. We've got, let's say this. We've got an episode in mind. So we're going to start off with actually some coverage from weekends, or
this weekend,
coverage from events this weekend.
Yep.
So we have the Star City Richmond. I actually did coverage at an MCQ this weekend. And after that, we're going to be getting into the insane debacle that was Mythic Edition. Because it was, pardon my language, a fucking shit show.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyways, let's
100%
get started with the coverage. So let's take a look at these top 8s while we've got them here. Take us away.
All right, so the Star City one is easy because it just started. I've got the screenshot up now. It's pretty basic for week 1. You have 3 mono red aggro decks that were 2 of them were a lock at round 14. The tweet I sent out said 3 of them were, and they were kind of what they didn't know was that I believe Ethan got a pair down. So they only knew that after round 15 was paired. He wasn't officially a lock, right?
Yeah.
Then we have 2 Esper control lists, which is perfectly fine. It seems kind of standard. Old Esper list with new with new Teferi and Narset. And then the banned mid-range list is just kind of a good stuff list. I don't believe Rudy has Carnage Tyrant in his sideboard. I think that was the other banned player.
Yeah.
Harlan might have it. And then we have Zach on Selesnya tokens, and I don't believe that's a real result. He's been playing this for about 3 or 4 months now, and he seems to be the only person on Earth that can put up results with this. I didn't see anything terribly new out of his deck when I watched yesterday's replay, but I only watched one match. I don't think there was anything in particular that came out of war. Maybe. I don't think he was playing as Arboreal Grazer in his list. I don't think he was using that. He was able to function off of 3 and 4 land and just go as wide as he did before. And so, like I said, nothing new. I'd have to see a deck list, and there's no deck tech with him, I believe, and there's no official list from the top 8s yet.
Yeah.
We were just taking a look. The one thing we did see out of the red decks is that they are playing Chandra and some are playing Tybalt. And the Tybalt looked pretty good against the Esper control lists. It houses a lot of what they're trying to do. I can't remember. It's the kill spell that makes it a mass creature. Also gains life.
I don't know what that is, but that was a good one that they were running as well.
Yeah, it hoses the life gain on that, and it allows the red deck to kind of shore up that matchup. Chandra looked insane in those matchups as well. There comes a point, and we were talking about it in Discord, where, and because they mentioned it on stream, after about 6 loyalty, attacking that card, that Planeswalker, is extremely difficult for the Esper player because they're going to start chunking their own life total, and they're probably low enough anyway that the moment they do that, they just get burnt out from hand. Yep. So it is kind of a toss-up in whether you bring in Chandra or Frenzies in the matchup, as Esper can deal with both of them, but they are great cards side by side. And I think Chandra is going to stick around either in the Frenzy slot, or we'll see sideboard slot freed up by something kind of boring, Rekindling Phoenix or Lava Coils if they're no longer needed in the format to make room for her, because I think she's just a straight upgrade to some of these pseudo-dead cards.
Yeah, she's insane. And I touching base on that, there was actually a match I saw yesterday at the MCQ where the Esper player was able to resolve Enter the God Eternals.
Yep.
And still lost because of a Chandra, which is insane.
It's the card I'm thinking of, right? Enter the God Eternals. 4 damage. Yeah, the life gain on that is it's like 4/4/4/4/4. All's down. Yeah.
It's like your best card, right? Yeah. In order for you to win that game and just get there, and resolved one of those, and Chandra still killed him. Yep. It was insane.
Yep. And so Moonbase ran the second ever MCQ yesterday.
Yeah.
Start to finish. How many rounds did you guys have?
We had 7 rounds with cut to top 8. No one in the 8 wanted to split since first place was $1,200 and the invite.
Yeah, no, I was up playing EDH to the cast, so
yeah,
we bore with you through that slog of the Vanapod game 1.
Yeah, that was brutal.
But the top 8, you guys have kind of mirrors the Star City, where there are 3 aggro decks in the top 8, but instead of being mono red, this is actually the Gruul deck.
Yeah,
and
it was interesting because one of the players was on the Warriors variant.
Okay.
Where it was like really heavy on 2 and 3 drops, and there weren't any 1 drops in the list.
Mm-hmm.
And he ran Direfleet Daredevils and stuff like that. And the others were the more traditional Gruul Smash. And one of them was actually primarily mono red. He just splashed green for Spellbreaker.
Okay. Did anybody?
Fine.
Did anybody play the new Elemental? The colorless red green Walking Hurricane?
No. Nobody had Living Twister in their list, which I felt like was a pretty good answer for when games go late.
Yep.
It seems like I think the biggest problem though is that you deal with it the same way you deal with all the other threats. I actually asked one of the players, did you think about this? And he said, well, I'd rather have Chandra. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
And he actually ran Sarkhan in his list, which Sarkhan did a lot of work.
The one from War, correct? Not the Dominaria?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Sarkhan the master list. So just being able to make the 4/4 and then swing for 8 the next turn was able to close out games pretty well.
Okay. So we also saw Esper control in your top 8 to some degree. There's the Esper heroic-ish deck that I believe came straight from, if not this past week's Star City versus series with Ross Merriam and Todd Anderson, and the week before. Deck's just kind of par for the course. Orzhov Knights, which was a deck right after the first draft set released. My standard player at the Team Worcester played against that literally a year ago.
And that deck was in the finals.
Yeah. It beats, man. The Kayas and the Remula you have now, it just makes those 3/3s pretty good. And you have an endless stream of creatures with a mass, so I mean...
Yeah, and D-Spark is just...
that spell's nasty,
I think D-Spark may be one of the best pieces of removal that they've printed in years, and the fact that it's, a $5 foil right now, and I mean, looking at Chandra, she's even $2.
Yeah.
That seems insane.
But,
whatever.
I agree. Civic Rec, which is kind of... standard. We saw that at the Star City event. It just didn't make the top 8. It was fighting the entire way to try and get there. I think somebody flamed out around 13, around 14. And the newest part of that deck was the Arboreal, the 0/3 that drops land from your hand into play. They made mention of that on day 1 as being a new addition to the deck. It kind of holds the ground fairly early on. It does exactly what you want. And it kind of takes the place of some of the more spin your wheel kind of cards, because this has a very dedicated effect. So, nothing.
And Tamio was in there as well.
Okay, yeah.
In some of the lists, being able to buy back your Wilderness Rex, your Root Snares, or whatever if you're on the Fog plan.
Yep. And then the most interesting deck from your top 8 was the Vanapod list.
Yes. So, fun fact for those of you, if you watched or anything. So that game 1 in the quarterfinals, I spoke. So Will Urker was the player. This is now his 6th Pro Tour. He's top 16th one prior, but he forgot in that game 1 that Shalai was in the list. Literally just forgot he could pod for it and win. He said that in that deck, the card that made the biggest difference for him was Oketra, which I still think is probably the most insane God Eternal. I mean, the amount of advantage you're able to get from that thing is just bonkers.
Oh yeah, she's great. It's
insane.
One of the Bant decks, I believe, that's in the top 8 for Star City is running a copy of God Eternal Oketra.
Yeah.
That's basically what made the difference between the lists and allowed the one player to just succeed compared to a lot of other banned players on the day or on the weekend. And it showed up more on coverage than Kefnet, more than Bomb 2, more than Ilkar, or whatever the Peggy is.
The Boar God, yeah.
Yeah. And Ronus has just been Mia all weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's the amount of advantage you're able to get, and especially in this format, just makes it very hard to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the only way to really permanently deal with it is to the return to nature or whatever in response to the trigger in the graveyard. Because, I mean, Despark doesn't do anything against this. I just get it.
Yeah, it just tucks itself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, coming out of these double top 8s, what we're looking at is basically cards like Despark and Enter the God Eternals as some of the format-defining cards for controlling lists. And then for the aggressive decks, we're looking at Chandra, Sarkhan, and Direfleet Daredevil, actually.
Yeah.
All the red lists are running Daredevil X, either 2 or 4 between the main and the side, and it's made the difference every time, having access to that versus some of the other more clunky spells prior.
Yeah, so, I mean, just being able to use your own opponents, especially in the control matchup, like a Thought Erasure or something like that against them is huge. So
yeah, access to Mortify and the Vraska's Contempt against the Planeswalker control variants of Esper is huge for the red deck, because now you no longer have to worry about value spewing damage over to a Planeswalker compared to the player.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely see a little bit of a shakeup moving forward. I believe the next Star City is also going to be standard, and I'll double check that because I don't want to be talking out the side of my mouth right now.
Yeah, I believe it is. It's interesting.
Yeah,
standard. We still haven't had an announcement on the London Mulligan in regards to standard.
Yeah.
As far as I know, it's still going on Arena, I think. I don't know if that's changed or not.
I think it's still on Moto, but I'm not 100%. Okay. And the next Star City event isn't actually next week. It's the week after. So that's May 18th is Star City Syracuse. The Open is standard, and with there's also a standard classic and a modern classic, which is a interesting thing to see coming out of this past week on Moto. That's been also a shit show. Yes, but nothing like
it has.
Our next topic. So Mythic Edition goes live Wednesday at 3 p.m. They didn't set it live an hour early like they have before on their website. Somebody actually knew what they were doing in regards to setting up that part of the auction. And then a minute later, almost 20,000 copies are sold of a 12,000 copy product. That auction ends half an hour or 45 minutes later, selling, over 30,000, almost 40,000 copies.
Yeah.
In that time, 2 subsequent auctions go up by Hasbro Toy Shop. This wasn't somebody else who just stole the images, the text, everything else to rerun the auction to just try and, defraud people. This was Hasbro putting them back up for reasons still unknown. And Twitter melted down about this. Not the Magic Finance Twitter, just Twitter in general. This news of what happened made it to Forbes 2 days later, I believe, if not the next day.
It was Thursday. They had a blog up about it.
Thursday, Forbes had an article about this botched attempt to sell a limited product. And as for this point in time, there are still people who do not know whether they are getting a product or not. There are people that have received, within the U.S., a partial refund but not a full refund. And then people outside of the U.S. who have been refunded the amount they paid, but not... It's
the brokerage fee.
The brokerage
transaction.
That's what I was trying to think of it. Because when you're international ordering off U.S. eBay, PayPal basically is set up to use a brokerage firm that pulls fees off the top, and you're not getting that back. That's like a $40 fee or something for 2 copies. I can't remember the numbers on that, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's convenient that we have 2 sides of the coin on this one. I was at work scrambling for internet because they pulled my hard line for whatever reason, and was able to put my order in for 2 copies. Have received a singular confirmation at 9 p.m. the next day with no other confirmation and no shipping information. You, on the other hand, were at the zoo with your daughter, putting in God knows how many orders, and received what?
I got, on Wednesday, May 1st at 2:56 p.m. Thanks for your purchase, Jason. Your order is confirmed. And then I got, on May 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Hello. Yesterday, Wizards of the Coast launched the exclusive Magic the Gathering War of the Spark edition. Blah, 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 blah. It's safe to say that Jace and his War of the Spark Mythic Edition pals broke the internet yesterday. The fact that you are comparing Jace to Kim Kardashian's ass is a fucking travesty.
Yeah, right.
This whole thing is absolute garbage. Some idiot, and I don't know if it's eBay, if it was Wizards, whatever, decided, all right, we're going to put this auction up and we're not going to charge sales tax. You are a multi-million-dollar company, both of them. How do you not realize you post a listing with sales tax? So, you gotta take it down. We're gonna put up a second listing.
Yep.
We still don't know what we're doing. Our head is still so far up our ass, we are eating our colon. And that auction gets taken down and we get a third one up. I don't understand what's going on.
Nope.
Like, I put 8 orders in on 3 different auctions. And all of them, the first 2 sets were canceled without an email. The third set, canceled without an email. Except for this one that I got a confirmation for. The best part, I still have, in my PayPal history, a posted payment. I still have, in my purchase history, a completed sold order that still says my estimated delivery date is May 6th through May 8th. Mm-hmm. It's still not canceled in eBay. But I got the email that said, oh, sorry, we're canceling it. Like, what? Like,
nope.
And the worst part is, everyone's like, oh, this is so terrible. They better learn their lesson. They're not going to fucking learn their lesson, guys. They're drug dealers.
So
drug dealers don't matter. We're still going to come back and buy the product.
It was HasCon promos broke the Hasbro site.
Yep.
But they have still infinite stock of those because they were supposed to be released at conventions. They said that.
Yeah.
That is confirmed per Watsy.
And
Mythic Edition 1 didn't go nearly as bad as the Hasbro release. Mythic Edition 2 came and went and sold 5,000 out of 12 in the first couple of minutes, so that was just kind of smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Then they decided to put Jace the Mind Sculptor in this shit and release it via the internet. Apparently, not understanding how auctions for pre-release items work either. That was the kick in the pants for me. So there's a bit of cruft going around about how things happened, and the experience that was explained to me was the first auction that completed successfully, or the first set of auctions that completed successfully, were to one individual for over 11,000 copies. That leaves 1,000 more to just kind of float there. Somebody else came in and not figured out, but knew how this part of the eBay system worked, submitted an auction to buy their 2, and then on the checkout screen, you're able to futz around with it and up their quantity from 2 to 9,000.
Yep.
That now balloons the amount they have to 20,000, and they can't cancel this auction because it's in progress now. Items have sold. The only thing they can do is up quantity behind the scenes so that more people can keep buying. And that auction spins and spins and spins and spins until Watsy just decides to end it by either not upping quantity or it hit some timeout. Meanwhile, those other 2 auctions go up and nobody knows what the hell goes on with this. And
it was... sorry, go ahead. You know what? I'm going to be quiet now. I need to not get too impassioned here.
No, it's fine. And it hit all facets of Magic Twitter as this was going on, and people were trying to figure out what the hell was going on. In the middle of a series of tweets about gameplay and upcoming schedules, Saffron Olive put something out there. We had James Chilcott put something out there. Evan Irwin, also Mr. Orange, if you don't follow him, is a great follow.
He's so good.
Oh, he is. Put something out there, just interrupting his daily flow and his daily schedule, asking if anybody was successful, just kind of a dry thing, and then he and Chaz Andrus went off about it. And Patrick Sullivan got in on this and asked a very dry question. If you could buy these at any cost, would you still buy them to flip? And if you're not buying them to flip, then why aren't you? Essentially, it's different. And then he put up another tweet about it, asking, like, if you knew that there was going to be no limit on this over time, they were just going to make more, would you still have wanted to buy in? Basically kind of asking a very pointed question of, are you actually buying this to own this product, or are you buying to flip it? And the majority of the people that responded back just said they were buying to flip.
Yeah.
Like, at no point in time, I would assume, does anybody at WotC have the illusion this product is going to be bought and opened by people to use those cards? Like, I want my 2 copies, one to hold, and I want another one to open because I don't want to pay for a Jason and Ugin. But that other one's going to basically offset the price of the second.
Yeah.
I don't know who WotC thinks these fucking products are for. It's not From the Vault series. Like, those products aren't for people who love shitty foils. That's what that is.
Yeah,
or cheap, or reprints of expensive cards in a shitty foil that nobody else wants. Like, that's how you get $30 Dark Depths and like $70 Jace the Mind Sculptors, or $50 whenever it hit, because that foiling is atrocious. Like, the Mythic Edition is something completely different, and it's obviously a collector's item because it's fucking full art. End of story. That it's not a player item. And if you can parallel it to sports cards. You know what a collector's item is in current sports cards? It's something that has either a signature, or it has a uniform, a bat piece, a piece of history attached to it that makes it different from the regular card in the set. That's what these are. If you want a Jace the Mind Sculptor that isn't for collectors, just buy the Worldwide non-foil, or the A25, or whatever it is. Just go out and get that. No, you make a full art piece, just like a UMA box topper. Like, what do you think those are for? You're not obviously you're not making full art Dark Depths for EDH players and Legacy players. Like, no. Full art Lily, but for the most part, this is for people to just sit on and move, and that's the end of it. And they remove head from anus. In all honesty,
if only they had some platform that they used to sell products directly that wasn't Hasbro Toy Shop. Like, I don't know, their Amazon store. You know who this never happens with on pre-release products, on pre-orders? Amazon.
Nope.
I've never heard of a problem like this in the history of Amazon's existence, where some product just like crashed their website. Even when they put up consoles, they do their Cyber Monday and Black Friday sales. Doesn't matter.
No.
Still, always up. How, so, all right. So the reason we wanted to talk about this was, what does something like this do to the consumer faith in the product?
And not just the Mythic Edition product, the overall product.
Not just the Mythic, but an overall product. I'm gonna say nothing. We're all idiots, all of us. They are selling really good drugs to us, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna try to get a second fix.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna try to release another Mythic Edition, and granted, it's gonna be trash compared to this one, because like we said on last week's episode, you've got saturation, you've got your money walkers. There's not much else you can do, unless they decide to shift it into like lands or something else. But we're gonna come back. We're gonna do it again. So everyone, including myself, that has this insane outrage and anger over this, the beauty of it is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They don't care. Look at Hasbro's stock price over the last 24 hours after that event. Okay, so let's take a look here. Hasbro Inc. on Market Watch. Let's take a look at their stock over the last week.
See if I can
look at that. It was down. It was down Thursday. Guess what though? It's up again.
Yep.
It's higher than it was on Thursday. So they don't care. They made their money.
Yep. And they also released their market earnings. Their earnings report, and Arena was the largest item on that. Like, cool microtransactions. What the shit.
Yeah. So what do they care?
No. The saving grace of this is that it's a supplemental product. Obviously, it's a collector's product. It doesn't affect the player base as a whole. If this was a standard product that just ran off the fucking rails like this, they'd be in the shitter so hard.
Yeah.
There's no internal testing of this stuff. It's just do it live.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, you talk about these standard products just not being, it would be a different issue. They're almost out of War of the Spark. Distros won't have any more for like 2 weeks from now.
And in 2 weeks, we start getting Modern Horizons spoilers.
Yeah. So, I will say this. I'm very glad that this set was so successful.
Yeah.
I am happy that it sold more than Dominaria, and that we're getting, like, back to, when Magic was great. The one thing that didn't happen when Magic was great, the biggest scandal was God books. You know what I don't care about? God books. Don't care about.
No.
They were great. Who cares? Doesn't matter. This, though, this is awful. This is the type of thing that, if this, like you said, were to happen for a standard release product, I've said it before on this podcast, I think 5 years tops through mismanagement or design for paper Magic. It would shorten that timeline a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We were talking about how does, with War of the Spark reintroducing interest to standard, just reinvigorating standard with, a banger set, what do they have to do to actually get people to play the game? Well, they have to make things cheaper just through continuous distribution. The game has to be more accessible at the paper level if they want people to play in both the digital and the paper formats. And they can do that all they want because it's easy as hell. But if they needed to actually do something with these supplementals, like Modern Horizons, if this was meant to bring more people back into that format and make it rival standard at like a less than 6% delta in comparison to F&M formats run, because Modern finally overtook standard not too long ago in the last 6 to 9 months. Sorry, standard overtook Modern in the last 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And not by a wide margin either, like 5 or 10%. But it was a very long time coming. That standard was below Modern and finally overtook, right?
Yeah.
But if the same kind of shit happens there, and that's a supplemental product, I mean, it's not going to because it's going through distro and going out properly through routes they've navigated for over 25 years, you'd probably lose that format and just push it to digital.
Yeah.
Like, this is meant to be a paper, not paper only, it'll be on Moto eventually.
Well, yeah.
But if they just bungled this entirely and the Modern player base couldn't get their cards, you can't expect them to stick with that format, and you'd see a dip in player attribution to that format and probably the format as a whole. Like, people would just be spurned because this affected a large player base and it affected their ability to play the format they like. These cards are basically just Cube, Legacy, and EDH cruft. That
the amount of people I know that were like, I'm getting one for my cube and a second to flip to cover the cost of both, so I upgrade my cube for free, was like everyone I know that was getting them. Yeah,
and what is it? Who is it? Who sits in the Quiet Spec Discord? Is it Chilcott?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was talking about how people in the QS Discord, just like in our Discords, were buying product for people within those Discords. This way you just have the most amount of people reaching out for that product. Not everybody wanted everything. We had one guy whose roommate who just wanted Jason Ugin and fuck all for the rest of it, so they both went at it. But, one copy supposedly is going to come in, so one guy will keep 6 walkers and give away the other 2. Like,
yeah, sure.
That's fine. But I don't know. I didn't care about the other Mythic editions, and this makes me a little leery going forward of buying anything off eBay from them. I wish this would have been handled a little better. I might have actually gone to the first Grand Prix that had the Mythic edition at it, much like they did with the first one, where they gave it to 2 or 3 Grand Prix prize walls in a row. It's like, you could pre-order it and pick it up at Grand Prix Montreal, which I was at, and then I think the next 1 or 2, you could do the same thing, and it was at the prize wall, as opposed to eBay or Amazon in the future, or back to the Hasbro store, or they could put it back at the LGS level.
Yeah, I mean, if they have something for like maximum advertised pricing, because of course you're not going to get it at an LGS for $250, you're just not.
No.
If they have it at, a maximum advertised pricing, that like, all right, we're going to sell it for at least this much. Sure, you're going to get some stores that are probably going to crack it and sell the singles. But
yeah,
I'm sure there's plenty of stores. I know a few in St. Louis that would legitimately, because they care about their player base, have it in the store for whatever the manufacturer assured pricing was. And you come in, you do it like a shoe lottery. You buy your raffle ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Great. If your name gets called, congratulations. You won a Mythic edition.
Yeah.
That's great.
And just leave it up to the stores to handle. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems much easier.
Yeah. I'd rather do that. For me, the HasCon stuff was easy. I knew people who were going to be there. And there were infinite HasCon promos on site. You didn't have to deal with the HasCon store. Like, that was wicked easy. Why can't they do that with Mythic editions? Why can't they do something at Wizards World? Where I'm sure they have a booth. They could have done something at Gamma. They'll be at Gen Con. They have all this opportunity to put out these items. And instead they just rely on a distro source that they've never used before, that they have they've never proved success with in the model they decided to use it for, because Hasbro does not do releases like that for whatever that blue and purple bug thing is that was sitting there for hours on end.
Yeah, they just this is a completely separate release schedule than anything else they do, like action figures and stuff. I mean, I remember, you used to go to midnight releases for the new Star Wars action figures when they came out, and like, sure, that's fine. This isn't that. This isn't released the same way that your other products are. This doesn't have like the level of publicity and viewability that Magic the Gathering has.
Mm-hmm.
The demand that's there, because there's so much more of a secondary market here. It's not like My Little Pony, where you have a couple bronies out there collecting them, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Other than that, 90% of your clientele is children. That's not the case here, and you shouldn't treat it like those products. And it was just so immensely infuriating.
Yeah, it was terrible.
To go through this and watch this just get dumpstered.
Oh, yeah.
This release was so bad.
And
I don't think I've seen anything this bad. I mean, I know people that were writing, bots and like Selenium and stuff for this, and it still didn't work.
No.
Because they just arbitrarily canceled. And the other thing is, talking to people that have got cancellations, people that got confirmation, I know people that bought it at 3:05 p.m. that have had their orders confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
I know people that bought it 35 minutes later that had their orders confirmed. And I know people in between that had their orders canceled and confirmed all over the place. I can't seem to understand what the rhyme or reason is for the snap.
Yeah, and Hasbro customer service is not really giving us any more information aside from the fact that first confirmation or first cancellation email or message through eBay might not be the correct one. You could still be waiting. You won't know for sure until you have a shipping number. And there are a handful of people claiming that they have shipping and are trying to sell a product that might not exist.
Yeah. And the really funny thing to me was the number of people that as soon as like they were confirmed, there were listings up for like $1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Literally sold. If those people got cancellations after that, it's going to be amazing.
Oh yeah. If you checked eBay earlier that day, there were probably more listings than there were actual people that got confirmation emails that day for resellers. And what do? I think you can cancel an auction as long as you don't have a buy it now. If there are bids but no buy it now, I think you can cancel the auction without 100%. But that auction, if you can't, that auction now has to time out. You have to refund your bidder, and now you've just been nagged, and eBay takes shit like that seriously. Pre-sell a product that you don't have, that is not cool with eBay.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I was able to pull up my sale on eBay, and this auction listing says there were 4,000 sold.
There you go.
It's supposedly canceled. And, I got, like you said, that first email went out that said that cancellation may not have been right. Well, I still don't have a pending refund. I don't have an email from PayPal saying there's a refund, but I don't have a tracking number.
No.
I haven't received an update for one, so I have no idea if I'm getting this or not.
Neither do I. That's why I tweeted out the other day on our account the key sweating gif.
Yeah.
I have confirmation that the auction was successful on my end, but I don't have a shipping confirmation number. I could just be canceled, and I won't know. Supposedly, it should be arriving between Thursday and Friday. Maybe I'll find out then.
Yeah, that's what I was told, was between Thursday and Friday. But, oh no, mine is Monday and Wednesday is when mine will get here.
There you go.
So we'll see.
Yeah, and to just kind of bring this full circle, it's as far as secondary market is concerned, like people who are looking to buy singles, doesn't matter. The general population doesn't matter who this affects, or people who are going to buy into this as a another financial vehicle, or people who thought that they could kind of scheme their way into the market by saying that there were more printed than there were, blatantly lying, and attempt to forcefully reduce the resale value in hopes of being flooded themselves entering the market, saying that they want to own no less than 1,000 of these, then be threatened, quote unquote, and have to put up an "I'm sorry" video. Oh, really?
Mea culpa.
Hey, you weren't just entirely full of shit with information you don't have? Nah, that's cool.
All right, cool. Yeah, you got it, guy. Sure thing.
Yeah. The only question I have at the end, and this is something I posed the other day, is so this whole debacle goes down, right? And obviously we know there's going to be a decent retail price on this because you have Oog and you have Jace. But the singles are going to be worth one amount, the seal is going to be worth another. But because of the mystique of all the bullshit that happened surrounding this, does the sealed box, still shrink wrap, hold more value than it otherwise would because of this?
I think so. It's like the Rim Lotus.
Oh yeah.
At this point, it's a piece of internet history.
Yeah, like you survived it. You survived the snap.
Yeah, this is the Thanos snap for Magic, and you survived. You got it. You have proof that you were one of the chosen few.
Yeah,
I think that's like anytime you see some piece of memery or internet history come up, of course. Yeah, I think it holds more value.
I think so too. By what percentage, I can't say. This one is so much different from 1 and 2 because of what's inside that it's difficult to figure out. But I think it holds true. It's like the original Cabbage Patch Kids and Tickle Me Elmo. It's like, cool, you had to literally trample people to death to get this stuff. It can be worth a little more. Yeah. But for this week, I think we've got Jason riled up enough, so we'll just head on out with some picks for the week. My pick, as announced in our Discord, was Ral Storm Conduit, and that was just based on playability going into this weekend. I thought he was well underpriced for what he does. And you can see market is a little under $4, and I expected a card that showed so much promise in Temur Reclamation to show up in greater numbers this weekend. And while I still do have confidence that he will, I think sub $4 is a good price to move in on this. Not just because he does have a home in Standard immediately in one of several decks, but because he is also a combo card in EDH in the exact same way. So he will have a long-term hold there. If he had popped this week, or he pops in Syracuse, he could immediately shoot up to 10 to 15, depending on what we're seeing. Week 1 is always notably bad for control lists and combo lists in Standard. Yeah. So this is no surprise, no different that he didn't really show up at all, and we saw some other walkers. I believe he's going to be the first of a handful of planeswalkers in this set to start showing up in the next couple of weeks, and rightfully price correct. Had I known how good Chandra was in the mono red deck, I would have picked her, obviously, because she is $2-ish, and I think she has a better shorter term gain window than Ral does, but I think Ral's going to be better in the long term. So I'm staying on my pick from Friday. Yeah.
Mine is based on the good magical Christmas landlord Conley Woods.
Yep.
Who 5-0'd, and I'm sure some of you have seen Commandeer, Days Undoing, all that stuff spiking. As I picked in the cast, mine was Disrupting Shoal. Mm-hmm. So non-foils, from Uma you can get for 80 cents to $1. Foils low is $2. So the spread there is fine. I like the Ultimate Masters over the Kamigawa.
Yep.
Specifically because of the buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
The Kamigawa ones, non-foil, are like LP. You're looking at about $1.20, $1.50, somewhere in there, which isn't a huge difference.
No,
like
not at all.
numerically, but you're a lot more likely to get a return. We've got 233 results for the Kamigawa and about the same for Ultimate Masters.
Yeah.
180, so fewer on Ultimate Masters. But this deck, Conley 5-0'd with it. I fully expect Saffron to try to pick it up at some point. Granted, it's not going to be a budget deck anymore.
No.
The thread went out on MTG Finance, and it was immediately railed up. This kind of flew under the radar this weekend because of all the Neoform memery going on with Allosaurus Rider and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that this deck, and this card especially, has financial potential, not gameplay potential. Disrupting Shoal is one of those cards that even in EDH, not just Modern, people kind of forget it exists. But it's a free counterspell. If the games go late, it's just a counterspell for whatever. And at less than $1, I mean, there was a time in Standard where this card was $5-6 because you could counter Jit with it by pitching a 2-drop. And I think this card has every potential over the next year, if not in the next 2 to 3 weeks, to get to the $5 to $10
Absolutely.
margin. I think especially, this may be a case of pump and dump. For me, it's going to be a case of pump and dump.
Okay.
I'm going to buy a bunch of them, dump them to Card Kingdom's buy list when their buy price corrects, just like I did with Allosaurus Riders, because I'm not necessarily sure this deck has gameplay legs in the format.
Mm-hmm.
I may hold some of them, though, like recoup my initial investment off buy lists and hold the rest just to see what it does in EDH. Because I think you're looking at maybe a year or so, and if you look at MTG stocks over the lifetime of the card for Kamigawa, it's had a lot of peaks and valleys. I think its all-time high was something like $10.
There was a flashpoint around Rivals of Ixalan where, for whatever reason, it went up to 20 and then immediately stepped back down.
And that's, now we've got it gradually ticking down to where it's at now because of the Uma release.
Yeah.
So it's obviously a card that people knew existed. It was a card that was used in EDH, which, as we've said before, is one of the biggest financial drivers you can find anywhere. It also looks like it's been in some dredge lists recently.
Yeah.
It's the type of thing that I definitely think has legs, and for me, getting in at sub $1 seems pretty good.
Yep.
Because it's not a lot to put down, and your risk of just being out pretty low. I mean, I don't think it's going to get any lower than it is now.
Yeah, the nice thing about the price graph, and I brought it up, was that every time the price went up, whenever the ceiling was raised, the floor came with it. Yeah. The only time the floor did not come with it was after the UMA release, which is to be expected because the market was flooded, right? So naturally, this card should see a bump over time in regards to the floor. It should self-correct once demand is sated. We touched on the Allosaurus Rider deck in regards to Disrupting Shoal, and the Shoal being a good response to that. It's one of the only ways you can deal with that deck on your turn 0. That deck is actually performing well under the Vancouver mulligan, not just the London mulligan. So there are people testing it that are looking at, I forgot the math, about 12% of the time you can turn 1 under Vancouver. Not London, Vancouver.
Still pretty good.
Primo. Under London, I thought the number was 15, so it might be a little higher than that. But so Allosaurus Rider has been, Neoform has been out on Moto for a little over a week. We got our first deck list on it in the Discord, maybe the day after War went live on Moto. And then it was silent, and then 5-0 to leak. And a bunch of people have been tossing out lists on Goldfish under the Super Brew section. So there's no solidified list yet. There's maybe of a full 75, 62 that people like. But the core concept of the deck is there, and and it's always the same, and the numbers are the same on a lot of the cards. Auto Shorthon Worm or whatever that 15 drop is. Two of those, two Gristle brands.
That thing.
Yeah. And so for about 3 days, the deck runs rampant on Moto. And then on Friday, I actually was the first time I saw the Conley list that I put up. That was direct from his tweet. The moment it went out, basically, I was sent that tweet by a friend. And Conley played it in a friendly league, which I don't think a lot of people recognized. And just from that friendly league, which was how Saffron Olive used to do things, used to play there to test this stuff, we saw Days Undoing move up to an over $10 card, and Commandeer people are trying to sell for like $25 plus.
Yeah.
So if Allosaurus Rider sticks, regardless of whether or not this deck is good, we will see Disrupting Shoal come up to meet.
Yeah. It's
not hard for blue-white control to find a 2-drop they mind pitching to Disrupting Shoal against Neoform. Spell Snare is also live. It's just outside of turn 0. And then you also have eventual answers later on. And we're going to see some weird things pop up in the next couple of days. So Disrupting Shoal is just the tip of the undiscovered iceberg. Yeah. I think is the way to look at it.
Saffron will get us there.
Oh, absolutely.
He'll find it.
And Saffron Olive we trust, I guess, is yet another slogan we can use.
Yeah.
But
I approve of this one.
Oh, yeah.
I may not approve of Wizards of the Coast literally ever, but I approve of this motto.
But that's it. That's all we have for this week, guys. So I am at Halt. I am Reptar on Twitter. You are
at Thirsty Sizzler.
We are at MTG Cabalcast on Twitter, Patreon, and we are still doing the UMA giveaway. There are a handful of spots left, so please stop on by, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Sorry.